Silly season is certainly among us and upon us, rather, as we talk about Arsenal departures. We've been so happy talking about players leaving Arsenal over the last couple of days, with the likes of Kolasinac going and Saliba finally getting a loan, and Ozil maybe going off to Turkey or the United States. But then we get hit with a bit of a bombshell of a player that could be going, and that is Folarin Balogun. We're going to talk about the confliction in reports, in what Arteta's saying, in what's being reported, and get your thoughts and comments in our live chat as well. So welcome, sit back, relax, and enjoy the debate and discussion around Folarin Balogun and his possible exit from Arsenal. Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk. Back again with you guys for another show, for another episode of our TGT series of Raw Reaction shows, where we react to the latest Arsenal news and get your thoughts in our live chat and discuss, debate, ask questions, answer questions, and plenty more throughout the next half an hour or so to talk about the latest news, which is that Folarin Balogun looks like he's leaving Arsenal at the moment, as we look at David Ornstein's piece in The Athletic, where he says Folarin Balogun close to signing a pre-contract agreement with a foreign club. Arsenal want him to stay, but no real progress in deal talks and little game time. No problem with his reps in the past, which also included Iwobi, Nelson, and Saka, of which we have signed contracts to in the past. Iwobi, Nelson, and Saka all signed deals at Arsenal, renewals of contracts. So this would be the first one which is not going to be taking place. So I'd love to get your raw reaction to that news in the chat box. Let's see what you guys are saying. Christopher Fung says, would be sad if Balogun left, but we still have Mola and John Jules, so future is bright at striker. Matt Thornton says, afternoon, Tom. Be gutted if he goes. Hopefully something gets sorted, but I do believe people are sleeping on Tyrese John Jules, as do I, Matt, as do I. Mr. Joker says, Eddie is off to Wolves or Brentford, apparently, so should be opportunities for Balogun. I mean, I've not seen that reported of anywhere of a legitimate note. I've not seen that reported. So feel free to throw where you heard that from, Joe, into the chat box, and I'll comment on it. But I've not heard anything in regards to Eddie going anywhere this month. Mitchell says, do Liverpool have to pay a tribunal if we get him? I'm not sure, but the problem is that I don't think he's going to be going to another English club. He's looking like he's going to be going to a foreign club. Yoni Max says, shock horror, Arsenal letting one of their most talented youngsters leave again, as we've seen with the likes of Serge Gnabry, Jeff Rene Adelaide, Ismail Benassa, Doniel Marlon. The names and lists go on as to the players that Arsenal have let go and have gone on to do big things. Ans14 says, good potential, Liverpool sell Ryan Brewster for 20-odd million. We can't give our players away. Well, apparently we can. We can give only the good ones away for nothing. And even the bad ones, we can't get anything for either. Ajit says, that's a huge blow in Ketia chances. It's costing Balogun, and not that Eddie is pulling trees up either. Ed Welch says, listen, nothing is signed yet. If he gets some more starts or minutes, who knows? He might sign a new deal. Now, what Ed is alluding to there is comments made by Mikel Arteta in his press conference today, which we're gonna read through some of his statements about Balogun. Let me just throw it up on the screen for you so you can see it also. There we go. So this is on the Arsenal website. On if Balogun is going to play on Saturday against Newcastle. He is fit and available. Again, his progression and the use of the time that he's had with us has been incredible. We will keep having chances while he's with us. Well, he will keep having those chances. On his contract situation, you need three parties to make a deal for sure. The club wants to make that deal happen, and the manager wants to make the deal too. The player wants to stay, and I'm not sure about the agent. He says on if there is enough room for him to come through, and very simply he says yes. Now, interestingly, the agent talk is a bit interesting, and he goes into a little bit more detail on that. He says on if the agent is stopping a new deal being agreed, he says no, I'm not saying he's stopping. I'm saying that we need to find an agreement with him. We are negotiating with an agent, with a player that wants to stay at the club, and we need to find an agreement. I'm telling you that we are doing everything we can to keep him here, and hopefully from the other part they are doing the same, and they defend the same interests, which is the player's interests, which is to stay at the football club and be successful with us. Now, This obviously is in complete confliction with what David Ornstein and The Athletic have reported. And there is even further reports from our good friend, who we can always rely on, Mr. Fabrizio Romano, who tweeted out saying, Balogun always been open to stay at Arsenal, but he needs to play. This is the priority for Folarin and his agents. If he plays more, he'll be considering a new contract. If not, Balogun will decide among the 15 clubs that have approached him as a free agent. Nothing done and signed as of yet. Now, The Athletic did say that a deal was close, not that a deal had been signed. So that's not necessarily contradicted that report as of yet. But at the moment, I have not seen anything regarding the deal being signed. I've not heard anything specifically about him 100% leaving. All we are in the know about is the fact that the contract negotiations are ongoing and Arsenal are very keen to keep him. If there are... We come down to kind of the wage side of things, what he wants from a contract, what he wants as assurances. We can imagine that the assurances that he does want are going to be regarding the amount of playing time that he gets. Now, I have said time and time again on the channel that I don't personally see Eddie Nketiah as the future of Arsenal Football Club from a striking perspective. I just don't see that as a realistic thing. I don't think he's given us enough output. I don't think he's shown me enough in his performances now. I think he's 21 years of age. He's not shown me enough to make me go, yeah, this guy is going to be the next big thing for Arsenal, whereas Balogun is more unknown. He's only had a few chances, but in those few opportunities, he's scored goals. He's looked bright. He's looked to make opportunities for himself. And in those small opportunities, it doesn't make me want to turn around and say that, yes, Balogun is clearly the guy that we should be going for, and we should be pinning all of our hopes on this guy to be the future. All I'm saying is that I have more of an interest in giving him time to maybe develop up until his 21st birthday, where we've come to with Nketiah, and see where that goes by giving him opportunities, than I am by keeping Nketiah on a new deal, which would need to be signed with a year left on his contract come the end of this season. That's where my head's at regarding the two players. Tyrese John-Jules is also another one that the club that's done fairly well on his loan at Doncaster, and someone that the club are certainly sleeping on. But there is very much kind of a furore around Balogun right now. I think there are people being exceptionally over the top about this situation. But I do like Balogun, and I hope that Arsenal can come to some sort of arrangement. What's making this deal difficult is the fact that he has the same agent as Eddie Nketiah. He has the same agents as Nketiah and Saka and Nelson and Alex Iwobi previously as well. And what's interesting about that is that if you're negotiating with an agent that's got a client that also is in kind of the striking competition with the same person, you can't pull any tricks. You can't make any false promises, because anything you say about Balogun's future at the club is going to impact Eddie Nketiah's future at the club. So you can't pull the wool over any agent's eyes in regards to this situation. It's very, very difficult to do that. And you don't want to turn around to him and say that, look, we're going to give him time, because the agent will go, well, what about my other client, Eddie Nketiah? Are you going to give him time? Because how can you guarantee one time and the other that you're not? So I think that Arsenal are in a very difficult situation, and I can understand the club's situation with the pair. I can understand why they found it difficult to come to an agreement when you are dealing with a client, or when you are dealing with an agent that has two clients in a very similar position at the club. So that's my kind of overall thoughts. Let's see what more of you guys are saying in the chat. David Orleba says, why do we always think these players are going to be superstars? A few cameo games and he did well. These players need to learn their trade and then make realistic demands. It makes me want to go fly fishing. Yeah, I completely understand what you're saying. I think that there is kind of a PTSD within the Arsenal fan base, seeing the likes of Reine Adelaide, Gnabry, Benassa, Marlon do well once they've left, and make them think, wow, we're letting another youngster go. But the thing is we've let other youngsters leave in the past, and they've not really gone on to do anything. We've let a lot of young players go, and they've not gone on to be superstars. So you will always look in isolation those few examples of the ones that do make it, because there's always a chance that Balogun could be one of those players that goes and makes it. But there's all the possibility in the world that he also might not be. It's a chance. And without significant evidence of him at senior level, which we haven't been able to see because he's not been given the opportunities yet, we can't really know that. And Arsenal have handled the situation pretty poorly by not giving him enough senior opportunities when his contract is as low as it is right now. I mean, it should have been signed an extension more than a year ago when he was progressing with the under-23s. That is the situation that we're in with Balogun, and we have been the makers of our own downfall with this situation, with how we again have dealt with the situation of a young player and their contract getting to a certain level, and that's a really big shame. Did you see Arsenal's tweet 5 minutes ago? Let's have a look at Arsenal's tweet from 5 minutes ago and see if they've said anything that makes this video look a little bit stupid. We can confirm that the club has met the criteria set by the Bank of England for the COVID corporate financing facility. We're going to get a COVID loan. Okay, let's react to that because that's interesting. Okay. Share the screen. Let's share the screen with you guys so you can see this. This could be quite interesting. Okay. So, club to receive a loan from the Bank of England, which could have an impact on a lot of things. I imagine it from before I read this, my initial reaction is this is going to have more to do with maybe staff and wages than transfers. But let's see. So, as we continue to work through the implications of the global pandemic on our finances, we can confirm today that the club has met the criteria set by the Bank of England for the COVID corporate financing facility. As a result, we are taking a short-term £120 million loan through this facility to partially assist in the managing the aspects of the revenue losses attributable to the pandemic. This is a similar approach to that taken by a wide variety of major organisations across many industries, including sport, and is repayable in May of 2021. The CCFF is designed to provide short-term finance at the commercial rates during the pandemic to companies that have strong investment ratings and which make significant contributions to the British economy. And it is in addition to the loan provided by our own KSE that enabled us to refinance the debt on the Emirates Stadium in August of last year. Okay, so I don't think I can see what I'm trying to picture here is if anyone can have kind of a criticism of this and what the criticism might be. If this is like for me, it's just coming across as a loan which helps us in the short term deal with the pandemic and the issues with not getting the revenue, not getting match tickets, not getting as much income from certain areas because of the pandemic. And that ultimately is something that is maybe necessary. Now, a lot of people might turn around and say that why don't KSE, who are billionaires, just put the money into the club? There's issues with that. And also there is a loan provided by KSE already that we've had to deal with some of the situation. Now, if that money is used for transfers, it gets a little bit complicated. And I'll be very honest, I am not the expert to know what the implications of that would be. But I don't understand the economics of this, to be honest. And there will be a lot more people that will know a lot more than I will about this. And what I'll do is I'll make sure I can get in contact with some people that can tell me and explain to me this a lot better. Because, of course, I'm reacting to this news live that only dropped 5 minutes ago. So until I'm more in the know and I've learned a little bit about what this means, I'm not specifically going to comment on it. I guess we'll have to wait for Swiss Ramble to tell us a little bit more about it. But, I mean, in money coming into the club to deal with the situation, I don't see that as necessarily bad news. So yeah. Nosip says FFP is suspended. KSE could invest if they wanted to, and they did. So they did with Partey. So there you go. Ed says if they take the loan and sign players, they will be criticised for sure. For staff, maybe not as much. Yeah, I mean, the redundancies that went throughout the club, the people that left because of that, the pandemic's impact, and now we're taking out a loan, there will be questions asked of that. So, yeah, there will be questions asked, 100%. Juan Felipe says tactical breakdown on Arsenal loans is going to be the next thing to come out. So that's going to be interesting. Jubilani says the loan being repayable so soon could be a problem. Maybe it's repayable in May. It's going to be to deal with this. It's kind of a short-term thing, whether Arsenal repay out their accounts, whether KSE have something to do with the repayment of that. I don't know. Again, I'm not going to speculate too much on this because I'm not an expert at all. let's see if there's anyone reacting to it on the Twitter about this, because I genuinely have no idea. James Benj says Tottenham took out a similar loan last year worth 175 million to help with financing. I know you all know this, but this isn't about funding transfers. It's a short-term move to support cash flow over the coming months. It's due to be repaid at the end of the month. Simon Collins of The Standard says will help cash flow at the club. Not being done, so funds can be splashed on January signings. So if you think this has anything to do with January signings, it's not. So don't think it suddenly is. It's just the timing of it is very, it's a coincidence that it happens to be in January. It is not going to affect how we spend our money on transfers. It's to do with purely dealing with the pandemic, as any club of the level that could take out a loan of that size would do. So yeah, there you go. We can move on and move and refocus ourselves back onto the Balogun topic, which we're obviously here to talk about a little bit more. So if we are going to, of course, see Balogun play on Saturday, that's a good indication for us, because if you look at the fact if he plays after supposedly being close to a pre-contract agreement with a foreign club, that must give us some sort of bedrock to build upon. Why would you invest more time in a player that's going to be leaving at the end of the season? Although saying that, we have done that with Mustafi, which is a bit strange. So I don't really know, because we're so kind of out of the know on what the reality of this is, with the amount of conflicting reports around Balogun, that I can't really commit to a point in saying that, yes, we're going to keep him, or no, he's going to go, because there's so much confliction in the reports coming out from the media and from what Arteta is telling us that I don't really know, to be honest. I really, really don't. But I'd love to get your thoughts. I know that you're all quite obsessed talking about this loan now that we're getting. David Maudsley says Balogun shouldn't be used on Saturday. Give Eddie the game and Moller the place on the bench. If he is going to be going, then that makes sense, doesn't it? Well, why would you invest the time in the youngster? Mattino says you need to start being more reactionary, otherwise people will start conspiracies that you're being paid by the club not to be negative. Mattino, if I was being paid by the club, you go watch back the raw reaction shows to us when we lost some of the games earlier on the season, and some of the things that I've said. There is no chance anyone would ever believe that for a second. Chris says, Tom, rank based on who you think has the most long-term potential from Balogun, Nketiah, John Jules and Moller. It's a good question. It's a tough one to rank, because we just don't know about the three behind Nketiah. It would be based on purely from glimpses of seeing them in youth teams and on loan, and from hearing from coaches that have worked from them, like with Moller. Like when we spoke to Robin Asterhed, who was the coach of Moller in Sweden, he was very complimentary of the guy. But do we know how he would affect the game on a senior level? It's really difficult. If you were going to press me and you put a gun to my head, I'd put Nketiah at the bottom of the pile, because he's the more I'm sure on saying that I don't think he's got a long-term future at the club. I'd then probably go Balogun, Moller and John Jules. But I think they're very close. I don't think it's like one then the other, and they're really far apart from each other. I think it's very close with the kind of long-term potential of those three players. So it's tough. It's a tough one. Lord Jabberwock says, why not sell him with a buyback clause like regular? Because he doesn't need to. Because he doesn't need to be sold. He can turn around and go, look, I'm not going to be held bound to Arsenal by a buyback clause when I can just leave for nothing in 6 months' time. Like there's nothing there. Like there's nothing that I can say that would make me go, yeah, we should just give him a buyback clause, because there's nothing that's going to make me think a club would come in and buy him now when they can just sign a pre-contract. Does that make sense? Because if he signs a pre-contract agreement, he's just going to go there at the end of the season. So Enrico says, what even is Nketiah's long-term level? Like, I don't know. I don't think it's at Arsenal. I think it's kind of a lower Premier League side, maybe upper Championship side, but I don't see it as a Premiership. There's no such thing as a Premiership. A Premier League level team. I don't understand where the thinking would come from behind that, because I don't think there's the evidence to suggest. Like you look at someone like Saka and the output that he gives of a young player in comparison to Nketiah, the output is so much greater. The application on the pitch is so much greater. Even Martinelli, in the short time that we've had him, the application, the output is so much greater than what Nketiah has given us. So I struggle. I struggle to see him as a top half Premier League player personally. Long-term level, solid goal poacher like Danny Welbeck, says Javier. Yeah, I agree with you. David Moore says Premiership, showing your age there, Tom. Yep. Yeah, I remember the Premiership. Chris says, don't forget that we would get a nominal Bosman competition fee. Again, it's nominal, isn't it? It's not going to be anything that has a big... we'll probably get less from that than we got from the sell-on fee we got from Chuba Akpom's move to Middlesbrough earlier in the season. It'll probably be less than that. And I think that's only if he goes to another... I don't know if it's specifically Premier League, but a championship club. I don't know if it counts if he goes to somewhere foreign. I don't think we get anything if that's the case. Freddie says, I have a feeling if Eddie and Balogun's situation were reversed, people would be begging for us to sell Balogun and play Eddie. But I don't know. I struggle to kind of picture that because Balogun's much younger. Eddie's played a lot more football and not given as much as we have seen from maybe Balogun in a very short space of time. So I don't know what the situation would be, Freddie, if you did reverse it. I'm struggling to kind of understand what you mean if you were to reverse the two. If you're purely talking about the contract length, if Balogun had a year and a half left on his deal and Nketiah only had 6 months, I don't think there would be anywhere near as much of an outcry to keep Nketiah. I genuinely don't think there would be. I think that they would think, right, Nketiah's got 6 months left. Balogun's more of a prospect for us now. We've seen enough of Nketiah up until this point. Let Nketiah go and then put stock in Balogun, give him the chances and signing up to an extension. I don't think if you swapped them, it would change too much in the opinion of the fan base. But that's just how I feel about that. Daniel says Roma offered 10 million for Mkhitaryan before he left for a free in summer. That's not true, Daniel. Wherever you've got that from, it's not true. Juan says, Tom, would you consider loaning Donny van der Beek from United if it was possible? It's not possible though, Juan. It's just why would United loan a player to us and help us? Like it makes no sense. Like it doesn't make any sense for them to do that, especially a player that they've spent that amount of money on. And why would we want to develop a player for Man United? Why would we want him to come here, play well for us, and then go back to Man United? It doesn't make any sense for me to do that. Vinny says Eddie has had to play in a misfiring team. Lacazette also struggled until the youngsters came in. Eddie's been here a long time, Vinny. Like, he's been here a long time. He's been playing in the Arsenal first team for a number of years. And he's been given opportunities in the Cups and in the league. And I've seen enough for me. I thought I'd seen enough a year ago. A year later, I've certainly have seen enough. Ariane, thank you for the donation, mate. Says, considering Balogun, Laka, Eddie's contracts are coming up and not all of them are staying, would you dip in the transfer market? And if so, who would you buy? Coming up, and not all of them are staying. Would you dip into the transfer market? If so, who would you buy? In terms of a striker, is that what you mean? Like, if I was going for a striker, I wouldn't invest in a striker right now. I'd see what would be going on with the Lacazette situation in the summer. If Lacazette stays, then you invest the year after he goes. Like the year he goes, sorry. If he goes, then you invest then. And it depends on if he goes or stays, what type of investment you have to use to invest in another player. You also have to think about like the young player like John Jules, Moller that are coming through. Could you put more stock in those guys if Nketiah and Balogun leave? If Lacazette and Nketiah and Balogun all go, then we have to invest in a central player. But if Lacazette stays until the end of his contract and we sell Nketiah and lose Balogun for another year, I'd chill on that, let Tyrese John Jules become the Nketiah that we've had right now and give him the opportunities. Yeah, I understand what you're saying now, Javier. Chris says, Sky Germany is reporting that Ozil's departure from Arsenal is getting closer. Well, I thought it was getting closer yesterday, but you never know. Zamir says 120 million in government loan for Arsenal. We should free up money for transfers now. Lol, silent Stan even more. The loan has no effect on transfers, Zamir. You may have seen a lot of people reporting that now. The loan is no impact at all on transfers. So don't suddenly think that it does, because it doesn't. Martino says Eddie played in the Europa League where we were scoring a lot of goals and he didn't really score a lot of goals, which is also a fair point. Hold on. What did Sam say that's got that reaction? Sam, I was seriously considering Jack Wilshere as a backup for Emile Smith-Rowe, but then you have two injury-prone players in the same position. And then, right, Chelsea vet Stacey, whoever this person is just absolutely threw you into the ground. So, you know what? We're not having a Chelsea person putting one of our members down. So see you later, son. See you later. Sam says, what do Arsenal see in Runnison? Well, that position is just as important for us to get back up for us. Yeah, we need to sign a backup keeper. I think Arsenal will look to do that by the end of the window. For me, I think it's an area that Arsenal certainly need to prioritise. Lord Jabberwock says, I'd rather Arsenal clear out some of the deadwood this window and spend on players in demand in the summer rather than scavenging for unwanted players like Isco and Brandt. I agree with you. I think that's something that we should definitely be doing. Get out the Ozil, Socrates, Mustafi, Kolasinac, Saliba on loan, obviously. Who else? Nketiah arguably could be going too. If you can get a fee for El Neni, maybe you take that as well. If we can get as many players out that we can then replace in the summer, and I think we've got enough with the young players as well that we've got at the club, and some of them coming through. For me, I'm happy with how that is. I'm happy that if we don't bring in anyone. I know that I spoke a couple of weeks back and said if Edu doesn't bring in anyone in by the 16th, then I think there's a big problem. But in context and looking at the evidence of the last couple of weeks and how many people that we're moving on and the emergence of some of the young players like Martinelli and Emile Smith-Rowe, the situation is different now. So I wouldn't be so against him if he didn't bring in any players in by the 16th. If he doesn't bring in maybe a backup keeper by the end of the window on loan until the end of the season, I think that's maybe a little bit naive. But we'll look at the summer. The summer is so important for Arsenal. It's so important to get so many deals done and have a lot more money available, fingers crossed, to get deals done as well. Matt Thornton says, were we all on Saliba watch yesterday? Yeah, he did okay. He had a decent game. Obviously got a yellow card quite early on in the match, but he was good on the ball. He was good at passing. He was good at intercepting. He was good at dribbling. And I saw a horrible report from TalkSport saying that he had a nightmare debut. I mean, if you want to try and get clicks on your piece, that's how you do it. But that was a load of rubbish because he had a very decent debut for Nice. But he's playing in a he's playing in a team that are going to face a lot of attacks this season in Nice. So he's going to be very busy. So it's plenty of opportunities for him to develop his defensive game for sure. So I'm intrigued to see how he gets on towards the end of the season. Chris says, Tom, stick to your guns. I'm expecting you to lead the Edu out brigade. No, Chris, you need to change your views based upon the evidence that you're given. Your opinion can change, and that will change if things happen. Ed Welch, on topic of youngsters being interesting to see whether Aziz gets involved tomorrow. Rumours are he's thought to be the next breakthrough youngster alongside the Romanian Kërjan. Yeah, Aziz and Kërjan very highly rated by the club, and as long as I think with Cotterill as well. So if they get some opportunities in the FA Cup, great. I think we'll see a lot of senior players still because I think Arteta will want to progress through the tournament and keep our winning run up. But we'll see. Please check. You've asked me this before, Lord, about Dimitrovic, and it's. I know it's an option we've looked at, but is he going to want to come and be a backup when he's playing week in, week out Arsenal? Maybe if he was given the money, maybe. But yeah, it's an option. It's a good shout. It's a good left field shout. I know you were kidding, Chris. You don't read my sarcasm at all. Javier says, I don't think you can swap jerseys if you're still under contract for a team, but then you're loaned out. I think you can. I'm pretty sure we've seen players take team. I think when Lucas Perez went on, is it Lucas Perez lost his number before he actually left the club? I'm pretty sure he was given, was it Lacazette that was given Lucas Perez's number 9 when he was still at the club? I have a weird feeling that is the case. Edward says, Tom, would you take Adam Hlojek, who is the Czech Republic young winger at Sparta Prague. Yes, I would. He's very, very good. I don't know how much he would cost. I imagine not too much. But there's a lot of kind of talent coming out of the Czech league that people are sleeping on. So, I mean, you look at West Ham with Kufau and with Souček. Slavia Prague got a very good team. They're playing Leicester in the Europa League, so it's going to be interesting to see how they fare against Leicester. I'm kind of leaning towards maybe Slavia Prague doing a decent job in that match, so it'll be interesting. I need to stop saying those words. I get obsessed with saying it will be interesting to see. Like, in the chat box, you need to call me out on this. I used to do it with the words and whatnot. I remember doing it like 2 years ago, and now I'm just saying, and it'll be interesting to see over and over again, and I need to stop it. Oh, please call me out, chat box. By the way, I have got on to our designers, our emoji designers, and a flying fish draft is in the works. So watch this space. Watch this space. Rob Norris says Basuma and Lamptey, double swoop, couple of players, and the other way sorted. You make it sound so easy, Rob. You make it sound so easy, son. I wish you were right. I really do. Edward says a lot of things are interesting, to be fair. And now we need to get, and it will be interesting to see. I mean, that could be my own emoji of me saying it will be interesting to see it. Then every time I say it, just spam the chat with those words. Oh, dearie me. Isha says, fans always complained when we were not active in the market before, and now that we are doing so, still complaining. I do trust what the board are doing. You will see soon. And Isha, I think I've picked up on this. I think I've said that the business done in the last summer window with Gabriel and with Partey was really good. And I think you look at Martinelli and Tierney coming in as good signings. We're not perfect. We've still brought in the likes of David Luiz and Willian, etc. But I think there are some good deals. Cedric, another bad example, but even Pablo Mari, I think that was a deal that was cheap, a deal that has got us a player in his mid-20s that looks solid, that didn't cost us too much, and is a good backup to Gabriel. I think there was thinking behind that signing. So I think there are good signs, Isha. I don't think there is necessarily any kind of negativity that I think is worth talking about massively right now. I think there are good things going on. Goodness sake. Enrico says, if we can't get Lamptey from Brighton, we should go all out for Frimpong from Celtic. Very similar player. Good shout, Enrico. Dutch right back at Celtic. I've done a player profile for him on 101. If you just type in Jeremy Frimpong 101, it will come up and you can read all of your, like, in fact, when I don't just put it in the chat box for you. 101, Jeremy Frimpong. If you're watching on playback, you'll have to click on the chat to see it, but there should be a player profile. Here it is. Oh, no, that's someone who's stolen my article. Great. The joys of being a journalist. Player profile. Here we go. Expert analysis. Let me just put that link into the chat for you guys so you can read it. There you go. He's a very good player, and he's someone that I think a lot of clubs are going to be looking at very, very soon. Joe Kerr says, should we consider a loan now for Brandt and nail down a pre-contract for the summer business with Buendia? I think that's a lot of complicated deals to be done at once. I'm not sure it'd be possible, Joe, if I'm being 100% honest. Brandt, for me, I'm kind of struggling with Brandt. I look at some of the Bundesliga players, and I know it's different. I know that Drew will kill me for saying this, but I look at some of the players that are moving from the Bundesliga that are being used in the wrong way. And do I trust Arsenal to use Julian Brandt in the right way? I'm not sure I do. I don't want a Timo Werner, Kai Havertz, Henrik Mkhitaryan situation. Players coming from the Bundesliga. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it works. Heung-min Son, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, Roberto Firmino. Sometimes it works. But there are lots of examples of players moving from the Bundesliga that are not cutting it in the Premier League because they're not being used in the right way, or they're just kind of floundering when it does come into moving into the Premier League. And I'm reluctant to go after Brandt. Even after hearing what Drew's got to say on him, I lean more towards Buendia than I do move towards Brandt. That is just how I kind of look at that personally. Granit Xhaka, another example. Sam says, I like that Arsenal are at least looking at players who have names that are easy to say. Yeah, what's wrong with Szoboszlai? You can say that easy. Nothing wrong with that. Teng Wang says, we've got Emile Smith-Rowe. Do we need Brandt? Yes. Oh, I can't handle this. And me and Drew argue about this as well. Arsenal need to sign a creative player and a good one. I understand the point of view, and we're going to do a dedicated show about this argument, and me and Drew are going to hash it out live on air, and it's going to happen. I promise. But I can't stand this argument that we don't need to invest, or rather we shouldn't invest because it could impact the development of Smith-Rowe or other players. We need investment into that area because if Smith-Rowe's gone, we're stuffed. We're so stuffed. Like, we haven't got anyone there, anyone else. So yes, we do need to sign someone, and you need to be ruthless with the squad. And to have Smith-Rowe still 20. And he will still get opportunities regularly to play in the team, even if we sign someone who's really good. And he can learn from them and work underneath them. And I think that's a positive. I really don't think that I think it's so naive to not go in for a Buendia, not go in for a Brandt, not go in for... And even saying that about Brandt, just not going in for a player of that ilk. Like, I don't necessarily am the biggest fan of bringing Brandt in, maybe. I'm more so in favour of bringing in Buendia. Don't get me wrong. I think Brandt can be a really quality player. I just have a lot of kind of questions surrounding him. So that's why I'm reluctant on that one. Did I see what Ornstein said about Emile Smith-Rowe, Freddie? No, I didn't. Is that a recent thing? Do I need to jump on and just check what he said? No, it's not recent. So please let me know, Freddie, what he has said. Thapella says Phil Foden is still developing with other players around him, so Emile Smith-Rowe can as well. I mean, not the best example because there's rumours that he might be wanting to move on. But you look at the amount of attacking players at Man City: Mahrez, Bernardo Silva, Kevin De Bruyne, Raheem Sterling. You go. I mean, that's why Leroy Sané obviously left in the end, because he was kind of frustrated at the situation at City, and there was a lot of other things that went on behind the scenes. But yeah, that is it as well. I'd go for Souček and Basuma, says Matt. Juan says that position is essentially to our style of play. We need more than just Emile Smith-Rowe. Zachary Allen says Wenger was a gangster walking around the training ground in a zipped up hoodie just because he's got... What is that, Zachary? What is that comment? Jesus, that was so random. Ed Welch says all the top teams have depth alongside youth. Look at Bernardo Silva and Foden or Milner and Curtis Jones. And the thing is, those players are getting chances to come through still, even with that senior figure in the side. What I would say is those examples are two teams that are battling for the Premier League and for other domestic cup competitions, whereas Arsenal are not yet battling for the title, but we are battling on multiple fronts still to win competitions more than just pushing ourselves up the Premier League table. The Europa League is something I've said that I feel that people have forgotten that we're in it this season. I feel that the league form has made people think, well, we've got no chance of that, but we do have a chance of winning that. You look at the teams that drop down from the Champions League, the best ones are being United. You've still got players like Napoli in the competition, Spurs, of course. But there are a lot of teams that drop down that I think that Arsenal are much better. It's not like the year where we had the likes of Napoli and Dortmund drop down from the Champions League. Inter Milan have gone out. Shakhtar Donetsk have dropped in. I think there's a really good chance for us in the Europa League this season. And I think a lot of people are kind of sleeping on that right now. And that's why I would like us to sign someone in January to help with that competition. But if that actually happens, I don't know. So we'll have to wait and see. Freddie says it was just about how Arsenal do not see him as the first team option as of now, but they want to bring in a world-class attacking midfielder and have Emile Smith-Rowe learn and then replace him. Makes sense. But if that's the case, a Buendia signing doesn't make too much sense because he's only 24. So if Emile Smith-Rowe was to gradually replace him, when does he replace him? Because Saka's smashing it at, 19? Smith-Rowe's 20. I'm not sure if I get that trailer. I understand it, don't get me wrong, but if you're linked with a player like Buendia and you've got no other experienced players, like if Ozil had another year left on his deal and was actually playing, that would make sense because you've got an experienced player that's going to be gone in a year and a bit. But and then you sign like a younger player to go even behind Emile Smith-Rowe in the pecking order. But yeah, I'm not sure. And attacking midfield is such a key position for Arsenal that it's not the type of position that Arsenal should go out to sign a player that's happy to be a squad player. Like, it's too important. It's way too important for that. Do you see Toloji Bola? Oh, sorry if I pronounced that wrong. as Tierney's number 2, as his loan from Rochdale has now expired. I imagine they'll probably send him out on another loan. Or did they recall him? I don't think it was expired. Didn't they? I think I heard something about him being recalled from loan. We've also got a goalkeeper coming back from Shrewsbury in Iliev. Iliev's coming back. He's like 25, 26 now, so he'll probably end up going soon. As Matt Macy's obviously going as well. So do I see him as the backup number 2? Maybe. Because of course we haven't actually got, other than Kolasinac, who's now on loan, like an out-and-out left-back in the senior squad. So maybe he will be. But it's a lot of pressure on a guy that's never played a senior minute, I don't think. So it's a lot of pressure to put on someone like Bola to do that. Winters says, the 2 brain trust rejects. I'll take Balogun, give holding. The 2 brain trust rejects Arteta and Raul while selling Balogun and give holding a new deal. Good move, you morons. I mean, that's a very LG comment, that is. I just don't think that. I don't get the hate around Holding's new deal. I really don't understand it. Like, he's been good for us. Like, he's been a good player. We're losing 3 right-sided centre-backs in the summer, and people are like, no, don't give Holding a new deal. What, you're going to run out of centre-backs? Like, you're going to get in a situation where you have to play, where you get to like Liverpool, where they're playing Fabinho and they're youngsters. Like, do you want to get to that situation? No. So you protect the player's value, you extend his contract, you keep him at the club, because actually he's been good. I'm sorry he didn't cost £50 million. I'm sorry. But that's the case. It's arguably insulting. Yannick. I like this Winter Wrath guy. Some people just want to watch the world burn. Is very much, that's the world burners category is what I put Yannick into, and now Winter Wrath as well. Gary says, can you actually see us signing 3 players that we need? Better backup keeper, another centre midfielder, and an attacking midfielder, and arguably a right-sided centre back. If we only sign 2, which 2 would you sign? I'd sign the goalkeeper's a must. Like, it has to be. You can't risk our season on Runnison if Leno gets COVID or gets injured. You can't risk it. But the thing is, the centre mid position's so important to go next to Partey, but I feel like we might do that in the summer. And then the cam position, we need backup to Emile Smith-Rowe. We need, arguably, not just backup, we need solid competition for Emile Smith-Rowe. So probably that. Tang Wang says, Holding is indispensable at this stage, considering how many centre-backs leaving and Saliba not being ready yet. He is also British, which adds to the quota. 100%. Spot on, mate. Oh, dear. That's such a hilarious comment, Vinny. Daniel Roberts says, why not play Pepe in goal? Heard he was a goalkeeper when he was younger. Prob's better than him there on the right side. Yeah, great. I mean, Pepe in goal, I mean, quick movements, quick reflexes. I don't know. He's got really good with his feet. Maybe with his hands, he's just as quick. Joe Kerr says Buendia is worth potentially 100 million to Norwich. I should, for anyone that doesn't realise what Joe's talking about, 100 million in regards to how much money he can make them with the promotion to the Premier League. We could offer Ambrosia or the Sun, Moon and the Stars. I don't think they'll play. What's Ambrosia? Am I missing something? I look at that as custard. Like, that's a UK brand of custard, is it not? Matt Thornton says, promote the one of our young goalkeepers to number 2. Got to start from somewhere. Okonkwo is very highly rated, and I think he's someone that should be given an opportunity. I don't want to risk losing him in the side at all. Daniel says, why not? Oh, we've done that. Eusebius says, I would be happy if we just got rid of the Deadwood this window, and a bonus if we sign one of the following: a backup goalkeeper, first choice attacking midfielder, first choice centre midfielder. Yeah, I mean, I would be happy if I was guaranteed we're going to really go for it in the summer. Otherwise, I'd want to see some signings made. But, yeah. Shrishant says, Sabitzer, Awar, Brandt, Buendia. So far, our options. Rank them according to your preference. Buendia at the top, followed by Sabitzer, followed by Brandt, followed by Awar. Awar is so overrated. Like, I can't... The amount of research that you know I've done on him doing the show, and from speaking to so many French experts on him, and from now watching quite a bit of him doing the breakdowns, the analytics, is so overrated. Like, he's such a hit and miss, hot and cold kind of player. He's a player that is just completely, for me, just drops as the mentality of the team drops. If Lyon aren't playing well, Aouar's not playing well. And Arsenal do not play well quite a lot. And I don't want a player that is a passenger. And that's how I kind of view Aouar at Lyon from all of the research and the expert insight that I've now been given on him. So that's why. Yes, Buendia at the top, 100%, Yannick. Arsenal, he's the highest chance creator in Europe, mate. So highest chance. I mean, come back at me with any stats that back up him not being top for me. But, you know, he's the man. This is what I said to him. I'm like, yep, Dave, you were spot on, mate. A says, Aouar needs the team to play well for him to play well. Exactly. We don't need a passenger. Like, we do not need a passenger. Lord says, finally, some said Aouar will not suit the Premier League. He won't be given the space he gets in Liga. Look at Pepe. Look at the space that Pepe is given in the Premier League. Like, we need to stop looking at attacking players from Liga. Like, I respect the league, and I think it's got some really good defensive-minded players. You look at Gabriel, that obviously we brought in. Saliba, I think, is going to have a great future. But attacking players, I mean, Lacazette, even himself, has struggled to kind of be that 30-goal a season striker. I mean, he's definitely struggled. So he hasn't achieved that at all. So if we're going to be looking at forwards, Liga is not a league I'm looking at specifically, because I just think the systems and the tactics behind the clubs that play there are so different to what the requirements are for a Premier League side, especially that of Arsenal, who play more possession-based. Unless you're PSG and you're really succeeding in that side that dominates so many of the matches, it's just, for me, not somewhere that I would scout and look for an attacking option. That's my personal view on that. And that's not to disregard the league at all. And I think there's a lot of kind of harsh words said about Liga that I don't agree with. But from an attacking sense, I don't think it makes tactically too much sense to sign those types of players. I mean, you look at the players that Newcastle signed and never really were able to kind of be as good as they were rated in France. Tovan, Cabela, these types of players. Manu says, I really want Arteta to bin Willock and Nketiah and Nelson. We need better quality. We should not be accepting mediocrity. Teng Wang says, would Sabitzer be a more realistic option considering how unlikely of Buendia is of coming? Possibly, because you look at the amount of attacking midfield quality they've got. Dani Olmo, and Kunku, Szoboszlai, like, they've got so much attacking central midfield quality now that he could be surplus. In the end, he could be available and they could put more stock in the likes of Szoboszlai. So, yeah, certainly. Dan says, Michael Elise over Buendia. Elise has more assists than Buendia this season in the Championship. He's a very, very highly rated player, and I'm sure he's going to go to somewhere else. I just don't think he's realistic. I think he's so highly rated he's going to end up somewhere else, Dan. But I'm 100% in agreement with you. I'd take him any day of the week. A says, Maddison was at Norwich, and look at him now. Spot on. Matt Thornton said, Buendia is not a big enough name for some. Arsenal fan snobbery at its best. Sean O'Connell says, Arteta should play Balogun to get him to stay. I agree with you. John Fernandez says, if we get rid of all 8 players and Xhaka, I think we can get Jack Grealish. Oh, God. Lord says, not Nelson. I like Nelson's directness. He needs more opportunities. Enough for French league players, says Yong Keat. Daniel Roberts says, look at Maddison now, still not in the England squad. I mean, you look at the England, he has got I'm pretty sure he's got a cap for England, but I mean, England's got a lot of attacking quality. So I'm not using that as a barometer, to be honest. But I think that's pretty much where we're going to leave off today. I think we've covered the Balogun news, the loan news, the transfer news. If anything drops between now and this evening, I'll be making sure to jump on and talk to you guys. Big thing tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Sorry, Western listeners. You're going to have to get up early if you want to tune in, but I'm going to be joined by Alvaro Romeo, TalkSport, Spanish kind of expert, and the Totally Football Show. Spanish expert, has been on the show a couple of times. Really informative guy, knows his stuff. Fantastic speaker on stuff. We're going to talk about Torreira's situation at Atletico. We're going to talk about Arteta. We're going to talk about a lot of things. So make sure you tune in tomorrow. And you can obviously find out all the information that he's got to say. I'll also be doing the usual Let's Talk Arsenal show at 5 p.m, which is where I'll be on with you guys having a chat for an hour about lots of random stuff. We talk more about like Arsenal transfers, of course, but also about kind of the social side of Arsenal, looking at social media, talking about the problems that go on social media with Arsenal, and we get into quite a big debate. I know there's some big characters in the chat that will enjoy that, so I look forward to doing that tomorrow. Thank you so much for dropping a like on the video. If you have done, please make sure you do drop a like on today's video. I really appreciate your support as always. Speak to you very, very soon. And as always, up the Arsenal.